So, Sainers, for the second week in a row, not the result we wanted, but the effort was there for the majority of the match. In case you don't know, my name's Woody. Jake's got me on to discuss some of the standout stats each week, so let's get into this week's Moorabbin metrics. Getting straight into my man of the match, after saying last week was his best efforts for the club, Max Hall came back and said, hold my beer. He got a career high for disposals with 21, a career high for score involvements with 11, which was the equal second most of any Saints player this year. He got a career high for tackles with 6, a career high for inside 50s with 6 too, and for the fourth time he equalled his third highest pressure acts in a match with 16. The next player I consider giving my man of the match award to was Hugo Garcia. With a career high for disposals with 24, a career high in contested possessions with 12, an equal career high in score involvements with 6, this was one of his better usage matches. He also got a career high in tackles and clearances with 10, a career high in centre clearances with 6, and he achieved that from 18 centre bounce attendances, which, if maintained, would be a higher centre bounce attendance clearance rate than anybody who's attended more than 15% of possible CBAs this year. Finally, the third player I consider giving my man of the match award to in only his second game was the flying Viking Alex Toru. Now, I'm sure you've all heard it before, but with 14 spoils, he managed to equal the most spoils by any St Kilda player in a match. That also equaled the most spoils by a player this year. Before we move on, I want to give a quick shout out to Rowan Marshall. With 10 clearances and his second best hit out to advantage percentage of the year, he did pretty well, all things considered, against 2 quality ruckmen. I could probably mention others, but let's get into the team stats. We won the majority of usage stats, getting more disposals with higher general efficiency numbers and more contested and uncontested footy. We also won a fair few of the defensive stats, taking home the W in tackles, tackles inside 50, and 1%ers. When you consider we fielded the second youngest side last week with the third least experience, there is certainly many positives to reflect upon. We managed to win the marks overall, but from there we can start to see where it fell apart. Despite the gallant effort, we lost the contested marks by 2 and the marks inside 50 by 8. We lost the overall time in possession numbers and turned the ball over more than our opponent. We lost the inside 50s by 8 after only trailing by 4 at the end of the third quarter. We lost the efficiency inside 50 battle too, which, as a side note, Freo went into the fourth with an inside 50 rating of 55.6 to our 59.4. So how did they manage to achieve that? Well, when we look at the clearance numbers, the story becomes a little clearer.
Good one.
First off, as always, we got soundly beaten in the overall hitouts, 57 to 26, yet we demolished the Dockers in clearances by 15, getting the job done in both centre and stoppage clearance. However, going into the fourth, St Kilda was up 16 to 39, meaning Freo nearly doubled their clearances in that last quarter, which exploded their scores from stoppage, getting 2 goals for in the last, to our solitary point. So I want to have a look at some clearances to see what worked and didn't, because we absolutely dominated at points. In this first example, we got the clearance after Higo Gold early in the fourth to put us up by 14 points. Marshall taps it down to Garcia, he gets the ball out to McRae, who slams it on the boot. Now if we stop before the next marking contest, we can see that Steele's opponent had come up to cover McRae, leaving Steele open, which was perhaps the best option, as when we get to the drop of the ball, Jordan Clark collects the intercept mark, one of his 14 intercept possessions for the day. Now, before you go asking who was manning him, Max Hall was his direct opponent for large parts of the match, which was perhaps why he was able to have more influence up the ground. For me, this shows the need for a big key forward that can either take that mark or make sure the ball gets to ground. And if we look at Hunter Clark's centre clearance in the third, which was also just a slap kick forward, this time it doesn't go to a contest, so we're able to compete for it at ground level and get another stoppage on the half-forward flank. Before we get past the examples, I want to mention that these were some of the few hit and hope type kicks out of our clearance. Most of the time, we found a hand pass to the wing or a half-back flanker running past. So what do we need to win those sort of matches in the future? While I certainly think King would help, unfortunately, I think it's just more time so that we can get more experience. I remember finishing that match and wanting to look back at expected scores because I thought it'd be much more in our favour, but we were less than a goal behind, so what gives? Well, I come back to a similar problem we've mentioned throughout the season. While 23 shots from 41 inside 50s is a good ratio, it's rarely going to beat a team that gets 31 shots on goal. And to get more shots on goal, we need more inside 50s. And yeah, look, centre clearances have been a massive issue historically. So if we can maintain the numbers we had on the weekend, yeah, it's a massive step, but it's just not everything. We were a young side on the weekend with much to like despite our loss, so provided everyone stays healthy and keeps improving, well, I can't imagine Garcia's 6 centre clearances will stay his best for very long. It's only his 20th match. Likewise, Taru and Hall, I hardly think in 2 years' time we look back on their 2nd and 15th matches respectively as their best. But that about sums up my major points for the week. If you want to see more of my face, I've got my own channel at Wooden Spoon Data. I just put out a video about why I think disposal efficiency is wrong, so maybe go check it out. Either way, I'll be here each and every week to go over some of the standout Saints stats. I want to thank Jake for having me. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Go Saints.